harshest concentration camp called Mauthausen in Austria, near Vienna. Mauthausen and Gusen are kind of two death camps that were category 3, where when prisoners came here, they were destined to die. There were no food portions for them. They were going completely hungry and had to work hungry until their death came. The first prisoners entered here in 1938 from concentration camp Dachau in Germany. They were made to build all of this that you see. This is all built by prisoners. And then more and more prisoners came, and political prisoners as well. We're inside of one of the barracks where prisoners were held. Seems to be a little nicer than Terezin in Czech Republic, although this was the most harshest category 3 camp where 90,000 Jews died altogether. You can see their beds wooden. This is the view out of their window. In night, look how skinny he is. This was the camp where food rations were very scarce, and they got food maybe once a week, and they still had to work. It was a working death camp. They came to die here by work and no food.
We've been taking you guys on a tour of the Mauthausen concentration camp in Austria. And in behind me is a menorah, an iron menorah that is made in commemoration of this camp. You've seen all types of the housing that was here, and this was considered a Class 3 concentration camp. It's kind of interesting they call it Class 3 because if you think about it, the Jewish people that went through the Holocaust was actually the house of Judah. It was the 3 tribes, the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Benjamin, as well as the Levites, which are also considered a tribe in the Old Testament, but later in the book of Revelation, John does not, or actually mentions them, but we don't see the tribe of Dan or the tribe of Ephraim there. But they were not considered a tribe. Levi was not a tribe when Ephraim and Manasseh came into being tribes of Israel, because it was always kept as 12 tribes. At that time, Joseph and the house of Levi were, the tribe of Levi were left out. But the point being, though, is that there were only 3 tribes that actually went through this, and that was Levi, Judah, and of course the Benjamites, the tribe of Benjamin. And this particular concentration camp was basically a death camp, and it was a death camp of the worst kind imaginable. And what I'm showing you now, what you see is a quarry. It was a stone quarry. And of course, a lot of the actual camp here was built by the very inmates that came here. But when they came here, their food rations were basically non-existent. And so they basically, not only were they worked to death, they were also starved to death. And this is what they found when the camp was liberated by the United States during the Second World War. And those steps that you see in the background, 160 steps from the bottom of the quarry to the top, 10 times a day, the Jews that were here as part of their torture during Hitler's Nazi Holocaust would make the Jews walk up 10 times a day, their backs loaded with rocks, carrying these rocks out of this quarry to the top of those steps. It was one of the worst ways you could imagine to die, not only to be starved, but worked to death as well. There were also guards that would take, when they would come to the top to dump the rocks, they would come and they would even, those that were really feeble and getting bad off, they would just take and shove them over the cliff right along with the rocks, and they would fall to their deaths as well. It's a very sad place. Many Jews died here. It's estimated 90,000 Jews were actually killed at this very camp right here, coming from Dachau. Many of the inmates here came from Dachau and met a very untimely, very horrible end. I'm Stephen Ben-Nun with the Nun Institute of Biblical Research. Shalom.